everything I do, so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move, so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, isn't that? Spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to...
Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel where we do talk all things true crime. If this is your first time here, hi, hello, welcome in. My name is Tanya and this is TitaniumBuilt. We are going to go ahead and get right into the article that I wanted to show you guys today. Bryan Kohberger's sister has come forward, and let's just say she has a different look about her. So we're going to show a before of her and her sister. This is Melissa, Amanda, and Bryan. So Amanda, Bryan, then Melissa there. And this is the article with her new look. So let's go ahead and let's get into this article. The harrowing news that had spread across the country in the fall of 2022, 4 college students were found stabbed to death at a house near the University of Idaho campus. Mel Coberger, who was preparing to start a new job as a mental health therapist in New Jersey, could not help feeling a sense of alarm. Her brother Bryan was living just 15 minutes from the scene of the mysterious killings. Investigators had no suspects, and Bryan was just the type of person who would leave his door unlocked and go out on late-night jogs. "Bryan, you are running outside and the psycho killer is on the loose," she remembers telling him. "Be careful." He thanked her for checking on him and assured her that he would stay safe. In early December that year, her brother returned to their parents' home in Pennsylvania for the holidays, and later that month, Miss Coberger got a call from her sister Amanda. Law enforcement officers had burst into the house in the middle of the night and placed Mr. Coberger in handcuffs. So apparently she wasn't there that night, but her sister was. She was like, "I'm with the FBI. Bryan's been arrested." Ms. Coberger said, "I was like, for what?" The response, the Idaho murders. For a brief moment, she wondered if it was a prank. Then a sense of nausea overtook her. Literally overnight, the mystery of who stabbed 4 young people to death in an ordinary neighborhood full of college students gave way to a new question. Why Mr. Coberger, a reclusive but dedicated PhD student who had been on a path to a career in criminology, may have mounted a silent and brutal attack on 4 students from another university who had no apparent connection to him. The arrest upended the lives of the Coberger family. Tabloid station cameras outside their home snapping images of Miss Coberger's father cleaning up the damage from the police raid. Online sleuths scrutinized footage of Amanda acting in a 2011 horror film that had also involved stabbings. Miss Coberger said she was angered by internet posts from people who speculated whether her family had known all along that Mr. Coberger was the killer. "I have always been a person who has spoken up for what was right," she said. "If I ever had a reason to believe my brother did anything, I would have turned him in." For the past 3 years, the family has kept quiet, avoiding interviews, even as Mr. Coberger pled guilty and accepted 4 life sentences. His parents and siblings wanted to do everything in their power to respect the victims' families during the legal process, Ms. Coberger said, and even now she expressed fear that she might say something that could further traumatize them. Her family's challenges, she said several times, cannot compare to what those families have endured. And while the family still does not want to discuss the crime itself, Ms. Coberger agreed recently to share part of their story, saying she hoped she could bring out the truth about her family and what it's been like to be dragged into the epicenter of a true crime epic. Family members of high-profile criminals have long struggled to navigate the collateral infamy thrust upon them. The Cobergers found themselves not just interrogated by detectives, but subject to the scrutiny of an assortment of amateur sleuths, part of a true crime fever that has brought millions of people together in Facebook groups, Reddit forums, and YouTube channels. When her brother was arrested, Ms. Coberger had been training to start a job as a mental health counselor, but her new employer was so flooded with inquiries that she agreed to abandon the position. So she was not fired in a way. She agreed. I guess she was kind of fired, but she agreed to leave. More recently, a book about the case emerged on Amazon with an author listed as Melissa J. Kohberger, suggesting that someone was trying to make money by selling a false version of her story. It's confusing, she said. It's painful. It's like being victimized, but not really being a victim. Mr. Coberger grew up in the Poconos in a home centered on family, with readings of books like Little House on the Prairie and lessons rooted in their mother's Catholic upbringings. Miss Coberger said she and her brother and sister had been imbued with values of loyalty, self-reliance, and putting the needs of others ahead of their own. Some of her fondest childhood memories were the nights when her parents, Mary Ann and Michael, ordered takeout food and woke up the children laying blankets out on the deck. There they would look up at the stars, talking about astronomy and the wonders of the world. Friends have described how Mr. Coberger had been overweight as a teenager and had a standoffish personality, something the family now believes was related to autism. He endured persistent bullying, Ms. Coberger said. He wrote online during those years of having no emotion, little remorse, and feeling as if he was an organic sack of meat with no self-worth. Later, he spiraled into heroin addiction. When he stole Ms. Coberger's phone and sold it at a mall to buy more drugs, she said, her parents alerted the police. Ms. Coberger said they were all worried that he was on a path to an early death, as ultimately happened with one of his friends. But after he went through treatment, she said Mr. Coberger seemed to be on a better trajectory. She and her brother both shared an interest in crimes and psychology. She was pursuing a career in mental health therapy. He began discussing a career in policing, going on to study psychology at DeSales University in Eastern Pennsylvania before getting accepted into the PhD program in criminology at Washington State University. We were also proud of him because he had overcome so much. He was still socially awkward and could be abrasive, she said. They often argued. Still, she said she never saw him to be violent. When she once tried to force him out of the house during an argument, he de-escalated the situation by holding back her hands. That lack of violent history was one reason the family found it so disorienting to hear that Mr. Coberger was accused of such a barbaric crime. In the days before the raid, the family had gathered for Christmas. Miss Coberger remembered being thrilled to see her brother back home in Pennsylvania and hugging him tightly. To accommodate the strict diet he now followed, their mother had made him vegan cookies for the holidays. They played TV party games. One night, as Miss Coberger was cleaning up the kitchen, a sharp edge of foil caused her finger to bleed, and her brother, initially expressing disgust at the sight of blood, helped clean the cut and cover it with a bandage. During those days at home, Miss Coberger says she recalls him only briefly mentioning the Idaho murders, saying that investigators were still hunting for the killer. Investigators, after going weeks without naming a suspect, had turned to the public in early December and requested help finding a white Hyundai Elantra of a model year between 2011 and 2013 that had been seen circling near the victim's house on the night of the killings. Miss Coberger, knowing that her brother had driven a white Elantra back from school, said she had briefly wondered if they were looking for the same model, but then learned that his was from a different year. It was a 2015. Unknown to the family, investigators had pinpointed Mr. Coberger as a suspect within days of his return to Pennsylvania. They were already surveilling the house. In the early hours of December 30th, 2022, while Mr. Coberger and his parents were alone in the house, police officer burst in with guns, drawn shattered glass, and rushing to place him in handcuffs. In court, law enforcement officials said that Mr. Coberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath that had been left next to two of the victims. Amazon records show he had purchased the same style knife. And then there was the white Elantra. Investigators determined that the car seen near the murder house matched the model he drove. Miss Coberger said her mother has been praying daily for the families of the victims. Miss Coberger herself has put the names of the victims, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Coronado, and Ethan Chapin, and their birthdays into her digital calendar so that she will get reminders about them. During the holidays, she said her family has felt grief that Mr. Coberger could not be with them, but then she would think of the victims' families and the pain they must be feeling. The idea is making me so emotional that I can barely speak to you about it, she said in tears. Steve Gonzalez, the father of Miss Gonzalez, said he had sympathy for Mr. Coberger's sisters and the scrutiny they had endured in recent years. But he said he still had lingering questions about Mr. Coberger's parents might have known or suspected. As the criminal case proceeded, the Coberger family was troubled by the intense discussion around it. Mr. Kohberger's emotionless mannerisms, which the family attributed to his autism, became something people treated as evidence of him being a monster. There were reports that he had interacted with some of the victims on social media or had gone to the restaurant where two of them had worked, but investigators later dismissed those claims. All the attention Miss Coberger said made it hard to imagine that her brother could ever get a fair trial, and she could see that the wild speculation surrounding the case seemed hurtful to the families and friends of the students who died. Once an avid true crime fan herself, she now looks back on that with regret. It's human nature to be curious about darker things, she said. That's how we keep ourselves safe. But I think we should try and come together for a true crime culture that is way more protective and empathetic to the families of the victims. The family has tried to support Mr. Coberger since his arrest. They have held regular calls with him, avoiding discussions about the details of the case. Ms. Coberger said she has kept him posted about life back at home, and he sometimes talks about his latest interest in psychology, the Myers-Briggs personality assessment, and the background. Okay, we're going to see what this one says. We're going to have to look these up. Bicameral mind theory, in which the two sides of ancient human brains operate independently. For his birthday, Mr. Coberger asked his family to make a cake that he thought his sister Amanda would like. He asked Mel to blow out the candles. Makes me sick. Through it all, they have tried to reconcile the son and brother they loved and still do with the man depicted by prosecutors and the police, the man who pled guilty to killing 4 young people with no apparent motive. When he entered the guilty plea in July, his parents attended, with his mother sobbing in the front row. Weeks later, when he was sentenced, Miss Coberger had hoped to attend, but she stayed home to care for her father, who had developed heart problems. They watched the hearings together on television. Some of the victims' family members, given a chance to address the court, unloaded their anger at Mr. Coberger, who sat largely in blank-faced silence. "You're definitely a demon from hell," one family member said through a lawyer. "The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. Stupid, clumsy, slow, sloppy, weak, dirty," said another. The judge said he could not discern any redeeming quality in Mr. Coberger because his grotesque acts of evil have buried and hidden anything that might have been good or instinctively human about him. This is a heart she painted, similar to the one she gave her brother for his sentencing. There's the heart that he had on the paper. She's got some manly hands. Through it all, Mr. Coberger sat with his hands in his lap, nothing in front of him but a pen and piece of paper, and appeared to have the small drawing on it. On the internet, some of the amateur sleuths watching the proceedings zoomed in to scrutinize the sketch, speculating it appeared to be a dark heart. Mr. Coberger keeps creepy drawing close during sentencing for quadruple murder, a tabloid headline declared. In truth, Miss Coberger said it was a heart surrounded by vibrant colors that she herself had drawn for her brother. Even if she could not be there in person, she said she wanted him to know that he was loved. So that's the end of the article. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below. I would love to know what you guys think of this article, what you think of what she's saying. We're going to talk about this later on our live. I will be going to Columbus today to go live about the dentist Spencer Tempe and his wife Monique Tempe, the ones that were murdered in their house with their children. I will be live on scene later this afternoon. So make sure you're subscribed and you hit the bell icon. That way you get alerted for that live, because that's going to be a good one. I'll be live on scene, like I said, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
To hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough,